Welcome, Wapham crew, guys, gals, ghouls, friends, fiends, foes, whoever may be listening beyond the Omniverse tonight. Secure your tinfoil hats, buckle down tight, and hold on loosely as we soar over the rocky tops of the La Platas on a rocky mountain high, get sucked into the vortex of the Four Corners, and settle down snugly at mile marker 420 in colorful Colorado. It is Sunday, September 1st, Monday, September 2nd for those of you across the pond and beyond. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you. And thanks so much for joining me tonight on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. I'm your host, TessaTNT, and we are broadcasting live from the Mile High Clubhouse tonight. I'm so grateful that you could join us. I hope you're having an awesome Labor Day weekend or weekend wherever you may be. Hope you're having a good time with your family or just relaxing or enjoying your favorite show, perhaps. I'm not sure. If you're listening live right now, you may be listening to us on Spreaker.com under We Are Paradox Media. You can also find us on KPNL Radio, which you can find at KPNL Radio at kpnl-db.com, as well as eTalk Radio, which you can find at etalk.tv/radio. If you like to watch as well as listen, just check us out on Facebook under We Are Paradox Media, YouTube under We Are Paradox Media, as well as Twitch. If you don't mind, mosey on over to our YouTube channel. Please like any video that you've watched or listened to, and please subscribe. Give that little bell a tickle. That way, next time we do have a broadcast, you will be made aware of it. So if you like to listen in your free time, whether you're working it, or working out, feel free to tune into us wherever you may listen to your podcasts, and you should be able to find us there. Just checking some stuff here really quick before we get kicked off. Before we get into it. Sounds looking good. Let me look at my levels over here. My little levelings. Alright. Looking good. If there's any issues, please let me know in the chat, and I will fix it for you. So for story time, we've been hitting the books hard as far as the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series, and we're on book 4 currently, and it's so long, and thanks for all of the fish. And this has been a pretty good book so far, which I'm not surprised because I like the whole series at this point. Got excited for a minute. I thought I found money in a book. I've never actually found money in a book, but I've known people who have. Alright, let's get into it. Chapter 11. April showers I hate especially. However, non-committally, Arthur grunted. The man seemed determined to talk to him. He wondered if he should get up and move to another table, but there didn't seem to be one free in the whole cafeteria. He stirred his coffee fiercely. Bloody April showers. Hate, hate, hate. Arthur stared, frowning, out the window. A light sunny spray of rain hung over the motorway. 2 months he'd been back now. Slipping back into his old life had in fact been laughably easy. People had such extraordinarily short memories, including him. 8 years of crazed wanderings around the galaxy now seemed to him not so much like a bad dream as like a film he had videotaped off television, and now kept in the back of a cupboard without bothering to watch. One effect that still lingered, though, was his joy at being back. Now that the Earth's atmosphere had closed over his head for good, he thought wrongly. Everything within it gave him extraordinary pleasure. Looking at the silvery sparkle of the raindrops, he felt he had to protest. Well, I like them, he said suddenly, and for oddly obvious reasons. They're light and refreshing, they sparkle and make you feel good. The man snorted derisively. That's what they all say, he said, and glowered darkly from his corner seat. He was a lorry driver. Arthur knew this because his opening, unprovoked remark had been, I'm a lorry driver. I hate driving in the rain. Ironic, isn't it? Bloody ironic. If there was a sequitur hidden in this remark, Arthur had not been able to divine it, and had merely given a little grunt, affable but not encouraging. But the man had not been deterred then. and was not deterred now. "They all say that about bloody April showers," he said. "So bloody nice, so bloody refreshing, such charming bloody weather." He leaned forward, screwing his face up, as if he was going to say something extraordinary about the government. "What I want to know is this," he said. "If it's going to be nice weather, why," he almost spat, "can't it be nice without bloody raining?" Arthur gave up. He decided to leave his coffee, which was too hot to drink quickly and too nasty to drink cold. "Well, there you go," he said, and instead got up by himself. "Bye." He stopped off at the service station shop, then walked back through the parking lot, making a point of enjoying the fine play of rain in his face. There was even, he noticed, a faint rainbow glistening over the Devon hills. He enjoyed that too. He climbed into his battered but adored old black VW Rabbit, squealed the tires, and headed out past the islands of gas pumps and along the slip road to the motorway. He was wrong in thinking that the atmosphere of the earth had closed finally and forever above his head. He was wrong to think that it would ever be possible to put behind him the tangled web of irresolutions into which his galactic travels had dragged him. He was wrong to think he could now forget that the big, hardy, oily, dirty, rainbow-hung earth on which he lived was a microscopic dot on a microscopic dot, lost in the unimaginable infinity of the universe. He drove on, humming, being wrong about all these things. The reason he was wrong was standing by the slip road under a small umbrella. His jaw sagged. He sprained his ankle against the brake pedal and skidded so hard he very nearly turned the car over. "Benny!" he shouted. Having narrowly avoided hitting her with the actual car, he hit her instead with the car door as he leaned across and flung it open. It caught her hand and knocked away the umbrella from it, which then bowled wildly away across the road. "It!" yelled Arthur as helpfully as he could, leaped out of his own door, narrowly avoided being run down by McKenna's all-weather haulage, and watched in horror as it ran down Finney's umbrella instead. The lorry swept along the motorway and away. The umbrella lay like a recently swatted daddy-long-legs, expiring sadly on the ground. Tiny gusts of wind made it twitch a little. He picked it up. He said. There didn't seem to be a lot of point in offering anything back to her. "How did you know my name?" she said. Well, he said, "Look, I'll get you another one." He looked at her and tailed off. She was tallish with dark hair, which fell in waves around a pale and serious face. Standing still alone, she seemed almost somber, like a statue to some important but unpopular virtue in a formal garden. She seemed to be looking at something other than what she looked as if she was looking at. But when she smiled, as she did now, suddenly, it was as if she had just arrived from somewhere. Warmth and life flooded into her face, and impossibly graceful movement into her body. The effect was very disconcerting, and it disconcerted Arthur like hell. She grinned, tossed her bag into the back, and swiveled herself into the front seat. "Don't worry about the umbrella," she said to him as she climbed in. "It was my brother's, and he can't have liked it or he wouldn't have given it to me." She laughed and pulled her seatbelt. "You're not a friend of my brother's, are you?" "No." Her voice was the only part of her which didn't say good. Her physical presence there in the car, his car, was quite extraordinary to Arthur. He felt, as he let the car pull slowly away, that he could hardly think or breathe, and hoped that neither of these functions was vital to his driving, or they were in trouble. So what he had experienced in the other car, her brother's car, the night he had returned exhausted and bewildered from his nightmare years in the stars, had not been unbalance of the moment, or if it had been, he was at least twice as unbalanced now, and quite liable to fall off whatever it was that well-balanced people are supposed to be balancing on. So, he said, hoping to kick the conversation off to an exciting start. He was supposed to pick me up, my brother, but phoned to say he couldn't make it. I asked about buses, but the man started to look at the calendar rather than a timetable, so I decided to hitch. So here I am. And what I would like to know is, how do you know my name? Perhaps we ought to first sort out, said Arthur, looking back over his shoulder as he eased his car into the motorway traffic, where I'm taking you. Very close, he hoped, or a long way. Close would be mean she lived near him. A long way would mean he could drive her there. I'd like to go to Taunton, she said. Please, if that's all right. It's not far. Can you drop me at... You live in Taunton? He said, hoping that he'd managed to sound merely curious, rather than ecstatic. Taunton was wonderfully close to him. He could... No, London, she said. There's a train in just under an hour. It was the worst thing possible. Taunton was only minutes away up the motorway. He wondered what to do, and while he was wondering, heard himself, with horror, saying, "Oh, I can take you to London. Let me take you to London." Ugly idiot, why on earth had he said "let" in that stupid way? He was behaving like a 12-year-old. She looked at him severely. "Are you going to London?" she asked. "Yes," he didn't say. "And I've got to step on it," he felt to add, omitting to glance at his watch. "I wasn't," he said, "but bungling idiot." "It's very kind of you," she said, "but really no. I like to go by train." And suddenly she was gone, or rather, that part of her which brought her to life was gone. She looked rather distantly out the window and hummed lightly to herself. He couldn't believe it. 30 seconds into the conversation, and already he'd blown it. Grown men, he told himself, in flat contradiction of centuries of accumulated evidence about the way grown men behave, do not behave like this. Taunton, 5 miles, said the signpost. He gripped the steering wheel so tightly the car wobbled. He was going to have to do something dramatic. "Finny," he said. She glanced round sharply at him. "You still haven't told me how." "Listen," said Arthur. "I will tell you, though the story is rather strange, very strange." She was still looking at him, but said nothing. "Listen, you said that. Did I? Oh. There are things I must talk to you about and things I must tell you. A story I must tell you which would..." He was thrashing about. He wanted something along the lines of "lie knotted and combined locks to part, and each particular hair to stand on end, like quills upon the fretful porcupine," but didn't think he could carry it off and didn't like the hedgehog reference. Which would take more than 5 miles, he settled for in the end. Rather lamely, he was afraid. "Well, just supposing," he said, "just supposing." He didn't know what was coming next, so he thought he'd just sit back and listen. That there was an extraordinary way in which you were very important to me, and that, though you didn't know it, I was very important to you, but it all went for nothing because we only have 5 miles, and I was a stupid idiot at not knowing how to say something very important to someone I've only just met and not crash into lorries at the same time. What'd you say?" He paused helplessly and looked at her. "I should do? Watch the road," she yelled. "Shit." He narrowly avoided careening into the side of 100 Italian washing machines and a German lorry. "I think," she said with a momentary sigh of relief, "you should buy me a drink before my train goes." Chapter 12. There is, for some reason, something especially grim about pubs near stations. A very particular kind of grubbiness, a special kind of parlor to pork pies. Worse than the pork pies, though, are the sandwiches. There is a feeling which persists in England that making a sandwich interesting, attractive, or in any way pleasing or pleasant to eat is something sinful that only foreigners do. Make 'em dry is the instruction buried somewhere in the collective national consciousness. Make 'em rubbery. If you have to keep the bunkers fresh, do it by washing them once a week. It is by eating sandwiches in pubs at Saturday lunchtime that British seek to atone for whatever their national sins have been. They're not altogether clear what those sins are, and don't want to know either. Sins are not the sort of things one wants to know about. But whatever sins are amply atoned for by the sandwiches they make themselves eat. If there is anything worse than the sandwiches, it is the sausages which sit next to them. Joyless tubes full of gristle, floating in a sea of something hot and sad, stuck with a plastic pin in the shape of a chef's hat. A memorial one fills for some chef who hated the world and died, forgotten and alone among his cats on a back stair in Stepney. The sausages are for the ones who know what their sins are and wish to atone for something specific. There must be somewhere better, said Arthur. No time, said Finny, glancing at her watch. My train leaves in half an hour. They sat at a small wobbly table. On it were some dirty glasses and some soggy beer mats with jokes printed on them. Arthur got Finny tomato juice, and himself a pint of yellow water with gas in it, and a couple of sausages. He didn't know why. He bought them for something to do while the gas settled in his glass. The barman dunked Arthur's change in a pool of beer on the bar, which Arthur thanked him. All right, said Finny, glancing at her watch. Tell me what it is you have to tell me. She sounded as well she might extremely skeptical, and Arthur's heart sank. Hardly he felt the most conducive setting to try to explain to her, as she sat there, suddenly cool and defensive, that in a sort of out-of-body dream he had had a telepathic sense that the mental breakdown she had suffered had been connected with the fact that, appearances to the contrary notwithstanding, the Earth had been demolished to make way for a new hyperspace bypass. Something which he alone on Earth knew anything about, having virtually witnessed it from a Vogon spaceship, and that furthermore both his body and soul ached for her unbearably, and he needed deeply to go to bed with her as soon as was humanly possible. Finny, he started. I wonder if you'd like to buy some tickets for a raffle. It's just a little one. He glanced up sharply. To raise money for Angie, who's retiring. What? And needs a kidney machine. It was being leaned over by a rather stiffly slim, middle-aged woman with prim knitted suit and a prim little perm and a prim little smile that probably got licked by prim little dogs a lot. She was holding out a small book of cloakroom tickets and a collecting tin. Only 10 pence each, she said, so you could probably even buy 2 without breaking the bank. She gave a tinkly little laugh and then, curiously, long a sigh, saying without breaking the bank had obviously given her more pleasure than anything, since some GIs had been billeted on her in the war. Yeah, all right, said Arthur hurriedly, digging in his pocket and producing a couple of coins. With infuriating slowness and prim theatricality, if there was such a thing, the woman tore off 2 tickets and handed them to Arthur. I do hope you win, she said with a smile that suddenly snapped together like a piece of advanced origami. The prizes are so nice. Yes, thank you, said Arthur, pocketing the tickets rather brusquely and glancing at his watch. He turned toward Finny, she and the woman with the raffle tickets. And what about you, young lady, she said. It's for Angie's kidney machine. She is retiring, you see. Yes. She hoisted the little smile even farther up her face. She would have to stop and let it go soon, or the skin would surely split. Look, here you are. said Arthur, and pushed a 50-pence piece at her in the hope that that would see her off. Oh, we are in the money, aren't we? Said the woman, with a long smiling sigh. Down from London, are we? Arthur wished she wouldn't talk so slowly. Now that's all right, really, he said with a wave of his hand, as she stared with an awful deliberation to pulling 5 tickets one by one. Oh, but you must have your tickets, insisted the woman, or you won't be able to claim your prize. They're very nice prizes, you know, very suitable. Arthur snatched the tickets and said, "Thank you," as sharply as he could. The woman turned to Finny once again. And now, what about— No! Arthur nearly yelled. These are for her, he explained, brandishing the 5 new tickets. Oh, I see. How nice. She smiled sickeningly at both of them. Well, I do hope you— Yes, snapped Arthur. Thank you. The woman finally departed to the table next to theirs. Arthur turned desperately to Finny and was relieved to see that she was rocking with silent laughter. He sighed and smiled. Where were we? You were calling me Finny, and I was about to ask you not to. Well, what do you mean? She twirled the little wooden cocktail stick in her tomato juice. It's why I asked if you were a friend of my brother's. Or half-brother, really. He's the only one who calls me Finny, and I'm not fond of it from him. So what's Finchurch? What? Finchurch. Finchurch. She looked at him sternly. Yes, she said, and I'm watching you like a lynx to see if you're going to ask the same silly question that everyone asks me till I want to scream. I shall be cross and disappointed if you do. Or I shall scream. So watch it. She smiled, shook her hair a little toward her face, and peered at him from behind it. Oh, he said, that's a little unfair, isn't it? Yes. Fine. All right, she said with a laugh. You can ask me. Might as well get it over with. Better than having you call me Finny all the time. Presumably, said Arthur. We've only got 2 tickets left, you see, and since you were so generous when I spoke to you before— What? Snapped Arthur. The woman with the perm and the smile and the now nearly empty book of cloakroom tickets was waving the 2 last ones under his nose. I thought I'd give the opportunity to you because the prizes are so nice. She wrinkled up her nose a little confidently. Very tasteful, I know you'll like them, and it is for Angie's retirement present, you see. We want to give her— a kid machine, yes, said Arthur. Here. He held out 2 more 10-pence pieces to her and took the tickets. A thought seemed to strike the woman. It struck her very slowly. You could watch it coming in like a long wave on a sandy beach. Oh dear, she said. I'm not interrupting anything, am I? She peered anxiously at both of them. No, it's fine, said Arthur. Everything that could possibly be fine is fine. Thank you, he added. I say, she said in delighted ecstasy of worry, you are not in love, are you? It's very hard to say, said Arthur. We haven't had a chance to talk yet. He glanced at Finchurch. She was grinning. The woman nodded with her knowing confidentiality. I'll let you see the prizes in a minute, she said, and left. Arthur turned with a sigh back to the girl that he found it hard to say whether he was in love with. You were about to ask me, she said, a question. Yes, said Arthur. We can do it together if you like, said Finchurch. Was I found in a handbag? Joined in Arthur. In the left luggage office, they said together. At Finchurch Street Station, they finished. And the answer, said Finchurch, is no. Fine, said Arthur. I was conceived there. What? I was in the left luggage office, hooted Arthur. No, of course not. Don't be silly. What would my parents be doing in the left luggage office, she said, rather taken aback by the suggestion. Well, I don't know, sputtered Arthur. Or rather, It was a ticket queue. The ticket queue, or so they claim. They refuse to elaborate. They only say you wouldn't believe how bored it is possible to get in the ticket queue at Fenchurch Street Station. She sipped demurely at her tomato juice and looked at her watch. Arthur continued to gurgle chirpily for a moment or two. I'm going to have to go in a minute or two, said Fenchurch, and you haven't begun to tell me whatever this terrifically extraordinary thing is that you were so keen to get off your chest. Why don't you let me drive you to London, said Arthur. It's Saturday. I've got nothing particular to do. No, said Fenchurch. Thank you. It's sweet of you, but no. I need to be by myself for a couple of days. She smiled and shrugged. But you can tell me another time. I'll give you my number. Arthur's heart went boom, boom, churn, churn as she scribbled 7 figures in pencil on a scrap of paper and handed it to him. Now we can relax, she said with a slow smile which filled Arthur till he thought he would burst. Fenchurch, he said, enjoying the name as he said it. A box, said the trilling voice, of cherry liqueurs, and also, I know you'll like this, a gramophone record of Scottish bagpipe music. Yes, thank you, very nice, insisted Arthur. I just thought I'd let you have a look at them, said the permed woman, as you're down from London. She was holding them out proudly for Arthur to see. He could see that they were indeed a box of cherry brandy liquors and a record of bagpipe music. That was what they were. I'll let you have your drink in peace now, she said, patting Arthur lightly on his seething shoulder, but I knew you'd like to see. Arthur re-engaged his eyes with Fenchurch's once again and suddenly was at a loss for something to say. The moment had come and gone between the two of them, but the whole rhythm of it had been wrecked by that stupid blasted woman. Don't worry, said Fenchurch, looking at him steadily from over the top of her glass. We will talk again. Took a sip. Perhaps, she added, it wouldn't have gone so well if it wasn't for her. She gave a wry smile and dropped her hair forward over her face again. It was perfectly true. He had to admit it was perfectly true. Chapter 13. That night at home, as he was prancing round the house pretending to be tripping through cornfields in slow motion and continually exploding with sudden laughter, Arthur thought he could even bear to listen to the album of bagpipe music he had won. It was 8 o'clock and he decided he would force himself to listen to the whole record before he phoned her. Maybe he should even let it be till tomorrow. That would be the cool thing to do, or next week sometime. No games. He wanted her and didn't care who knew it. He definitely and absolutely wanted her, adored her, longed for her, wanted to do more things than there were names for with her. He actually caught himself saying things like, yippee, as he pranced ridiculously round the house. Her eyes, her hair, her voice, everything. He stopped. He would put on the record of bagpipe music, then he would call her. Would he perhaps call her first? No, what would he do this for? He would put on the record of bagpipe music. He would listen to it, every last banshee wail of it. Then he would call her. That was the correct order. That was what he would do. He was worried about touching things in case they blew up or... When he did so, he picked up the record. It fell to blow up. He slipped it out of its cover. He opened the record player. He turned on the amp. They both survived. He giggled foolishly as he lowered the stylus onto the disc. He sat and listened solemnly to a Scottish soldier. He listened to Amazing Grace. He listened to something about some Glen or other. He thought about his miraculous lunchtime. They had just been on the point of leaving when they were distracted by an awful outbreak of yoo-hooing. The appallingly permed woman was waving to them across the room like some stupid bird with a broken wing. Everyone in the pub turned to them and seemed to be expecting some sort of a response. They hadn't listened to the bit about how pleased and happy Angie was going to be about the 4.3 pounds everyone had helped to raise toward the cost of her kidney machine. Had been vaguely aware that someone from the next table had won a box of cherry brandy liqueurs, and take a moment or two to cotton on to the fact that the yoo-hooing lady was trying to ask them if they had ticket number 37. Arthur discovered that he had. He glanced angrily at his watch. Fenchurch gave him a push. "Go on," she said. "Go get it. Don't be bad-tempered. Give them a nice speech about how pleased you are, and you can give me a call and tell me how it went. I want to hear the record. Go on." She flicked his arm and left. The regulars thought his acceptance speech a little over-effusive. It was, after all, merely an album of bagpipe music. Arthur thought about it and listened to the music and kept on breaking into laughter. Chapter 14. Ring, 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 ring. Hello, yes? Yes, that's right. Yes, you'll have to speak up. There's an awful lot of noise in here. What? No, I really do the bar in the evenings. It's Yvonne who does lunch. And Jim, he's the landlord. No, I wasn't on. What? You'll have to speak up. What? No, don't know nothing about no raffle. What? No, don't know. Don't know nothing about it. Hold on, I'll call Jim. The barmaid put her hand over the receiver and called over the noisy bar. Jim. Bloke on the phone says something about he's won a raffle. He keeps on saying it's ticket 37 and he's won. No, there was a guy in the pub. He won, shouted back the barman. He says, have we got the ticket? Well, how can he think he's won if he hasn't even got a ticket? Jim says, how can you think you've won if you haven't even got a ticket? What? She put her hand over the receiver again. Jim, he keeps effing at me. Says, there's a number on the ticket. Of course there was a number on the ticket. It was a bloody raffle ticket, wasn't it? He says he means it's a telephone number on the ticket. Put the phone down and serve the bloody customers, will you? Chapter 15. 8 hours west sat a man alone on a beach mourning an inexplicable loss. He could only think of his loss in little packets of grief at a time, because the whole thing was too great to be borne. He watched the long, slow Pacific waves come in along the sand, and waited for nothing that he knew was about to happen. As the time came for it not to happen, it duly didn't happen, and so the afternoon wore itself away and the sun dropped beneath a long line of sea, and the day was gone. The beach was a beach we shall not name because his private house was there, but it was a small sandy stretch somewhere along the hundreds of miles of coastline that run west from Los Angeles, which is described in the new edition of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, in one entry as Junky Wunky Lunky Stunky, and what's that other word, and all kinds of bad stuff, ooh! And in another, written only hours later, as being little several thousand square miles of American Express junk mail, without the same sense of moral depth. Plus the air is for some reason yellow. The coastline runs west and then turns north up to the misty bay of San Francisco, which the guide describes as a good place to go. It's very easy to believe that everyone you meet there also is a space traveler. Starting a new religion for you is just their way of saying hi. Until you've settled in and got the hang of the place, it is best to say no to 3 questions out of any given 4 that anyone may ask you, because there are some very strange things going on there, some of which our unsuspecting alien could die of. The hundreds of curling miles of cliffs and sand, palm trees, breakers, and sunsets are described in the guide as Bofo, a good one. And Somewhere on this good Bofo stretch of coastline lay the house of this inconsolable man, a man whom many regarded as being insane. But this was only, as he could tell people, because he was. One of the many reasons why people thought him insane was the peculiarness of his house, which, even in a land where most people's houses were peculiar in one way or another, was quite extreme in its peculiarness. His house was called the outside of the asylum. His name was simply John Watson, though he preferred to be called, and some of his friends had now reluctantly agreed to do this, Wonko the Same. In his house were a number of strange things, including a gray glass bowl with 8 words engraved upon it. We can talk of him much later on. This is just an interlude to watch the sun go down and to say that he was there watching it. He had lost everything he cared for and was now simply waiting for the end of the world, little realizing that it had been already done and gone. Chapter 16. After a disgusting Sunday spent emptying rubbish bins behind a pub in Taunton, and finding nothing, no raffle ticket, no telephone number, Arthur tried everything he could to find Fenchurch, and the more things he tried, the more weeks passed. He raged and railed against himself, against fate, against the world and its weather. He even, in his sorrow and his fury, went and sat in the motorway service station cafeteria, where he'd been just before he met her. It's the drizzle that makes me particularly morose. Please shut up about the drizzle, snapped Arthur. I would shut up if it would shut up drizzling. Look. But I'll tell you what it will do when it shuts up drizzling, shall I? No, blatter? What? It will blatter. Arthur stared over the rim of his coffee cup at the grisly outside world. It was a completely pointless place to be, he realized, and he had been driven there by superstition rather than logic. However, as if to bait him with the knowledge that such coincidences could in fact happen, fate had chosen to reunite him with a lorry driver he had encountered there last time. The more he tried to ignore him, the more he found himself being dragged back into the whirlpool of the man's exasperation. Conversation. I think, said Arthur vaguely, cursing himself for even bothering to say this, that it's easing off. Ha! Arthur just shrugged. He should go. That's what he should do. He should just go. It never stops raining, ranted the lorry driver. He thumped the table, spilled his tea, and actually, for a moment, appeared to be steaming. You can't just walk around without responding to a remark like that. Of course it stops raining, said Arthur. It was hardly an elegant refutation, but it had to be said. It rains all the time, raved the man, thumping the table again, in time to the words. Arthur shook his head. Stupid to say it rains all the time, he said. The man's eyebrows shot up, affronted. Stupid? Why is it stupid? Why is it stupid to say it rains all the time if it rains all the whole time? It didn't rain yesterday. Did in Darlington. Arthur paused wearily. You going to ask me where I was then yesterday? Asked the man. Eh? No, said Arthur. But I expect you can guess. Do you? Begins with a D, does it? And it was pissing down there, I can tell you. You don't want to sit there, mate, said a passing stranger in overalls cheerily to Arthur. That's Thundercloud Corner, that is, reserved special for old raindrops keep falling on my head here. There's one reserved in the every motorway calf between here and sunny Denmark. Steer clear is my advice. Sweat we all do. How's it going, Rob? Keeping busy? Get your wet weather tires on, ha-ha. He breezed by and went to tell a joke about Britt Ickland to someone at the nearby table who roared with laughter. See, none of them bastards take me seriously, said Rob McKenna. But, he said darkly, leaning forward and screwing up his eyes, they all know it's true. Arthur frowned. Like my wife, hissed the sole owner and driver of McKenna's all-weather haulage. She says it's nonsense and I make a fuss and complain about nothing but... He paused dramatically and darted out dangerous looks from his eyes. She always brings the washing in when I phone to say I'm on my way home. He brandished his coffee spoon. What do you make of that? Well... I have a book, he went on. I have a book, a diary, kept it for 15 years. Shows every single place I've ever been, every day, and also what the weather was like, and it was uniformly, he snarled, horrible. All over England, Scotland, Wales. I've been all around the continent, Italy, Germany, back and forth to Denmark, been to Yugoslavia, saw marching and charting, even when I went to visit my brother, he added, in Seattle. Well, said Arthur, getting up to leave at last, perhaps you'd better show it to someone. I will, said Rob McKenna, and he did. Chapter 17. Misery, dejection, more misery, and more dejection. He needed a project, and he gave himself one. He would find where his cave had been. On prehistoric Earth, he had lived in a cave. Not a nice cave, a lousy cave, but... There was no but. It had been a totally lousy cave, and he hated it. But he had lived in it for 5 years, which made it home of some kind. And a person likes to keep track of his homes. Arthur Dent was such a person, and so he went to Exeter to buy a computer. That was what he really wanted, of course, a computer. But he felt he ought to have some serious purpose in mind before he simply went and blew a lot of bread on what people might otherwise mistake as being just a thing to play with. So that was his serious purpose, to pinpoint the exact location of a cave in prehistoric Earth. He explained this to the man in the shop. Why? Said the man in the shop. This was a tricky one. Okay, skip that, said the man in the shop. How? Well, I was hoping you could help me with that. The man sighed and his shoulders dropped. Have you much experience with computers? Arthur wondered whether he mentioned Eddie, the shipboard computer on the Heart of Gold, who could have done the job in a second, or deep thought, but decided he wouldn't. No, he said. Looks like a fun afternoon, said the man in the shop, but he said it only to himself. Arthur bought the apple anyway. Over a few days, he also acquired some astronomical software, plotted the movements of stars, drew rough little diagrams of how he seemed to remember the stars to have been in the sky when he looked up out of his cave at night, and worked away busily at it for weeks, cheerfully putting off the conclusion he knew he would inevitably have to come to, which was that the whole project was completely ludicrous. Rough drawings from memory were futile. He didn't even know how long ago it had been beyond Ford Prefect's rough guess at the time that it was. A couple of million years, and he simply didn't have the maths. Still, in the end, he worked out a method which would at least produce a result. He decided not to mind the fact that the extraordinary jumble of rules of thumb, wild approximations, and arcane guesswork he was using, he would be lucky to hit the right galaxy. He just went ahead and got a result. He would call it the right result. Who would know? As it happened, through the myriad and unfathomable chances of fate, he got it exactly right, though he of course would never know that. He just went up to London and knocked on the appropriate door. Oh, I thought you were going to phone me first. Arthur gaped in astonishment. You can only come in for a few minutes, she said. I'm just going out. Chapter 18. A summer's day in Islington, full of the mournful wail of antique restoring machinery. Fenchurch was unavoidably busy for the afternoon, so Arthur wandered in a blissed-out haze and looked at all the shops, which in Islington were quite a useful bunch, as anyone who regularly needs old woodworking tools, war helmets, drag, office furniture, or fish will readily confirm. The sun beat down over the roof gardens. It beat on architects and plumbers. It beat on barristers and burglars. It beat on pizzas. It beat on estate agents' particulars. It beat on Arthur as he went into the restored furniture shop. "It's an interesting building," said the proprietor cheerfully. "There's a cellar with a secret passage which connects to the nearby pub. It was built for the Prince Regent, apparently, so he could make his escape when he needed to." "You mean in case anybody might catch him buying stripped pine furniture?" said Arthur. "No," said the proprietor. "Not for that reason." "You'll have to excuse me," said Arthur. "I'm terribly happy." "I see." He wandered hazily on and found himself outside the offices of Greenpeace. He remembered the contents of his file marked "Things to Do, Urgent," which he hadn't opened again in the meantime. He marched in with a cheery smile and said he'd come to give them some money to help free the dolphins. "Very funny," they told him. "Go away." This wasn't quite the response he had expected, so he tried again. This time they got quite angry with him, so he just left some money anyway and went back out into the sunshine. Just after 6, he returned to Finchurch's house in the alleyway, clutching a bottle of champagne. "Hold this," she said, shoved a stout rope in his hand, and disappeared inside through the large white wooden doors from which dangled a fat padlock off a black iron bar. The house was a small converted stable in a light industrial alleyway behind the derelict Royal Architectural Hall of Ireland. As well as its large stable doors, it also had a normal-looking front door of smartly glazed, paneled wood with a black dolphin door knocker. The one odd thing about this door was its doorstep, which was 9 feet high, since the door was set into the upper of the 2 floors and presumably had been used originally to haul up hay for hungry horses. Excuse me. An old pulley jutted out of the brickwork above the doorway, and it was over this that the rope Arthur was holding was slung. The other end of the rope held a suspended cello. The door opened above his head. "Okay," said Finchurch. "Pull on the rope. Steady with the cello. Pass it up to me." He pulled on the rope. He steadied the cello. "I can't pull on the rope again," he said, without letting go of the cello. Finchurch leaned down. "I'm steadying the cello," she said. "You pull on the rope." The cello eased up level with the doorway swinging slightly, and Finchurch maneuvered it inside. "Come on up yourself," she called down. Arthur picked up his bag of goodies and went in through the stable doors, tingling. The bottom room, which he had seen briefly before, was pretty rough and full of junk. A large cast-iron clothes wringer stood there. A surprising number of kitchen sinks were piled in a corner. There was also, Arthur was momentarily alarmed to see, a baby carriage, but it was very old and uncomplicatedly full of books. The floor was old, stained concrete, excitingly cracked, and this was the measure of Arthur's mood as he stared up the rickety wooden steps in the far corner. Even a cracked concrete floor seemed to him an almost unbearable, sensual thing. "An architect friend of mine keeps on telling me how he can do wonderful things with this place," said Finchurch chattily, as Arthur emerged through the floor. "He keeps on coming round, standing in stunned amazement, muttering about space and objects and events and marvelous qualities of light, then says he needs a pencil and disappears for weeks. Wonderful things have, therefore, so far, failed to happen to it." In fact, thought Arthur, as he looked about, the upper room was at least reasonably wonderful anyway. It was simply decorated, furnished with things made out of cushions, and also a stereo set with speakers, which would have impressed the guys who put up Stonehenge. There were flowers which were pale and pictures which were interesting. There was a sort of gallery structure in the roof space, which held a bed, and also a bathroom which, Finchurch explained, you could actually swing a cat in. But, she added, only if it was a reasonably patient cat and didn't mind a few nasty cracks about the head, so here you are. Yes. They looked at each other for a moment. The moment became a longer moment, and suddenly It was a very long moment, so long one could hardly tell where all the time was coming from. For Arthur, who could usually contrive to feel self-conscious if left alone for long enough with a Swiss cheese plant, the moment was one of sustained revelation. He felt on the sudden like a cramped and zoo-born animal who wakes one morning to find the door to his cage hanging quietly open, and the savannah stretching gray and pink to the distant rising sun, while all around new sounds are waking. He wondered what the new sounds were as he gazed at her openly wondering face and her eyes that smiled with a shared surprise. He hadn't realized that life speaks with a voice to you, a voice that brings you answers to the questions you continually ask of it. Had never consciously detected it or recognized its tones until it now said something it had never said to him before, which was yes. Fenchurch dropped her eyes away at last with a tiny shake of her head. I know, she said. I shall have to remember, she added, that you are the sort of person who cannot hold on to a simple piece of paper for 2 minutes without winning a raffle with it. He turned away. Let's go for a walk, she said quickly. Hyde Park. I'll change into something less suitable. She was dressed in a rather severe dark dress, not a particularly shapely one, and it didn't really suit her. I wear it specifically for my cello teacher, she said. He's a nice old boy, but I sometimes think all the bowing gets him a bit excited. I'll be down in a moment. She ran lightly up the steps to the gallery above and called down, Put the bottle in the fridge for later. He noticed as he slipped the champagne bottle into the door that it had an identical twin to sit next to. He walked over to the window and looked out. He turned and started to look at her records. From above, he heard the rustle of her dress fall to the ground. He talked to himself about the sort of person he was. He told himself very firmly that for this moment, at least he would keep his eyes very firmly and steadfastly locked onto the spines of her records, read the titles, not appreciatively, count the blasted things if he had to. He would keep his head down. This he completely, utterly, and abjectly failed to do. She was staring down at him with such intensity that she seemed hardly to notice that he was looking up at her. Then suddenly she shook her head, dropped the light sundress down over her shoulders, and disappeared quickly into the bathroom. She emerged a moment later, all smiles and with the sun hat, and came tripping down the steps with extraordinary lightness. It was a strange kind of dancing motion she had. She saw that he noticed it and put her head slightly to one side. Like it? She said. You look gorgeous, he said simply, because she did. She said, as if he hadn't really answered her question. She closed the upstairs front door, which had stood open all this time, and looked around the little room to see that it was all in a fit state to be left on its own for a while. Arthur's eyes followed hers around, and while he was looking in the other direction, she slipped something out of a drawer and into the canvas bag she was carrying. Arthur looked back at her. Ready? Did you know, she said, with a slightly puzzled smile, that there's something wrong with me? Her directness caught Arthur unprepared. Well, he said, I'd heard some vague sort of... I wonder how much you do know about me, she said. If you heard from where I think you heard, then that's not it. Russell just sort of makes stuff up because he can't deal with what it really is. A pang of worry went through Arthur. Then what is it? He said. Can you tell me? Don't worry, she said. It's nothing bad at all, just unusual. Very, very unusual. She touched his hand and then leaned forward and kissed him briefly. I shall be very interested to know, she said, if you manage to work out what it is this evening. Arthur felt that if someone tapped him at that point, he would have chimed, like a deep, sustained, rolling chime. His gray fishbowl made when he flicked it with his thumbnail. So on that note, boys and girls, we are going to go to our first music break. And on this break, we have Miss Mia Savage with her band Antidote for Savages. And You can find her on Instagram, I believe, under Antidote for Savages. And she'll be singing Your Skeleton, Or New Reality, The Nearing Crypto, and Let Me Be Your Home. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this music break. Welcome back, and thanks so much for joining me tonight on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. Tonight, we are doing story time with me, TessaTNT. Next hour, we'll be watching a creepy video together. Thanks. Yeah. Alright, so we are reading So Long and Thanks for All the Fish by Mr. Douglas Adams. We are currently on chapter 19. Ford Prefect was irritated to be continually awakened by the sound of gunfire. He slid himself out of the maintenance hatchway, which he had fashioned into a bunk for himself by disabling some of the noisier machinery in its vicinity and padding it with towels. He slung himself down the access ladder and prowled the corridors moodily. Oh, let me check over here, make sure my sound's going. Okay, we're good. Just didn't want to leave my Spricker peeps out. They were claustrophobic and ill-lit, and what light there was continually flickered and dimmed as power surged this way and that through the ship, causing heavy vibrations and rasping, humming noises. That wasn't it, though. He paused and leaned back against the wall as something that looked like a small silver power drill flew down the dim corridor past him with a nasty, searing screech. That wasn't it either. He clambered listlessly through the bulkhead door and found himself in a larger corridor, though still ill-lit. The ship lurched. Had been doing this a fair bit, but this was heavier. A small platoon of robots went by, making a terrible clattering. Still not it, though. Acrid smoke was drifting up from one end of the corridor, so he walked along it in the other direction. He passed a series of observation monitors built into the walls behind plates of toughened but still badly scratched plexiglass. One of them showed him a horrible green, scaly reptilian figure ranting and raving about the single transferable vote system. It was hard to tell whether he was for it or against it, but he clearly felt very strongly about it. Ford turned the sound down. That wasn't it, though. He passed another monitor. It was showing a commercial for some brand of toothpaste that would apparently make you feel free if you used it. There was nasty blurring music with it, too. That wasn't it. He came upon another, much larger, three-dimensional screen that was monitoring the outside of the vast silver Xatian ship. As he watched 1,000 horrible, bee-weaponed Zerzla robot star cruisers came soaring round the dark shadow of a moon, silhouetted against the blinding disk of the star's axis, and the ship simultaneously unleashed a vicious blaze of hideously incomprehensible forces from all of its orifices against them. That was it. Ford shook his head irritably and rubbed his eyes. He slumped on the wrecked body of a dull silver robot, which clearly had been burning earlier on, but had now cooled down enough to sit on. He yawned and dug his copy of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy out of his satchel. He activated the screen and flickered idly through some level 3 entries and some level 4 entries. He was looking for some good insomnia cures. He found rest, which was what he reckoned he needed. He found rest and recuperation, and was about to pass on when he suddenly had a better idea. He looked up at the monitor screen. The battle was raging more fiercely every second, and the noise was appalling. The ship juddered, screamed, and lurched as each new bolt of stunning energy was delivered or received. He looked back down at the guide again and flipped through a few likely locations. He suddenly laughed and then rummaged in his satchel again. He pulled out a small memory dump module, wiped off the fluff and biscuit crumbs, and plugged it into the interface in the back of the guide. When all the information that he could think was relevant had been dumped into the module, he unplugged it again, tossed it lightly in the palm of his hand, put the guide away in his satchel, smirked, and went in search of the ship's computer databanks. Chapter 20. The purpose of having the sun go low in the evenings in the summer, especially in parks, said a voice earnestly, is to make girls' breasts bob up and down more clearly to the eye. I am convinced that this is the case. Arthur and Fenchurch giggled about this to each other as they passed. She hugged him more tightly for a moment. And I am certain, said the frizzy ginger-haired youth with a long, thin nose, who was expostulating from his deck chair by the side of the Serpentine, that if one worked the argument through, one would find that it flowed with perfect naturalness and logic from everything. He insisted to his thin, dark-haired companion, who was slumped in the next-door deck chair, feeling dejected about his spots. That Darwin was going on about. This is certain. This is indisputable, and, he added, I love it. He turned sharply and squinted through his spectacles at Fenchurch. Arthur steered her away. Next guest, she said, when she had stopped giggling. Come on. All right, he said. Your elbow, your left elbow. There's something wrong with your left elbow. Wrong again, she said. Completely wrong. You're on completely the wrong track. The summer sun was sinking through the trees in the park, looking as if, let's not mince words. Hyde Park is stunning. Everything about it is stunning, except for the rubbish on Monday mornings. Even the ducks are stunning. Anyone who can go through Hyde Park on a summer's evening and not feel moved by its probably going through in an ambulance with the sheet pulled over his face. It is a park in which people do more extraordinary things than they do elsewhere. Arthur and Fenchurch found a man in shorts participating in the practice of bagpipes to himself under a tree. The piper paused to chase off an American couple who had tried timidly to put some coins on the box his bagpipes came in. No! He shouted at them. Go away! I'm only practicing. He started resolutely to reinflate his bag, but even the noise this made could not disfigure their mood. Arthur put his arms around her and moved them slowly downward. I don't think it could be your bottom, he said after a while. There doesn't seem to be anything wrong with that at all. Yes, she agreed. There's absolutely nothing wrong with my bottom. They kissed for so long that eventually the piper went and practiced on the other side of the tree. I'll tell you a story, said Arthur. Good. They found a patch of grass which was relatively free of couples actually lying on top of each other and sat and watched the stunning ducks and the low sunlight rippling on the water which ran beneath the stunning ducks. A story, said Fenchurch, cuddling his arm to her, which will tell something of the sort of things that happened to me is absolutely true. True story. You know, sometimes people tell you stories that are supposed to be something that happened to their wife's cousin's best friend, but actually probably got made up somewhere along the line. Well, it's like one of those stories, except that it actually happened. And I know it actually happened because the person it actually happened to was me. Like the raffle ticket. Arthur laughed. Yes, I had a train to catch. I arrived at the station. Did I ever tell you, interrupted Fenchurch, what happened to my parents in the station? Yes, said Arthur, you did. Just checking. Arthur glanced at his watch. I suppose we could think of getting back, he said. Tell me the story, said Fenchurch firmly. You arrived at the station. I was about 20 minutes early. I got the time of the train wrong. I suppose it is at least equally possible, he added after a moment, reflecting. The British Rail had got the time of the train wrong. Hadn't occurred to me before. Get on with it, Fenchurch laughed. So I bought a newspaper to do the crossword and went to the buffet to get a cup of coffee. You do crossword? Yes. Which one? The Guardian, usually. I think it tries to be cute. I prefer the Times. Did you solve it? What? The crossword in the Guardian. I haven't had a chance to look at it yet, said Arthur. I'm still trying to buy the coffee. All right then, buy the coffee. I'm buying it. I am also, said Arthur. Buying some biscuits. What sort? Rich tea. Good choice. I like them, laden with all those new possessions. I go and sit at a table. Don't ask me what the table was like because this was some time ago and I can't remember. It was probably round. All right, so let me give you the layout. Me sitting at the table. On my left, the newspaper. On my right, the cup of coffee. In the middle of the table, a packet of biscuits. I see it perfectly. What you don't see, said Arthur, because I haven't mentioned him yet, is the guy sitting at the table already. He's sitting there opposite me. What's he like? Perfectly ordinary. Briefcase, business suit. He didn't look, said Arthur, as if he was about to do anything weird. Ah, I know the type. What did he do? He did this. He leaned across the table, picked up the packet of biscuits, tore it open, took one out, and what? Ate it! What? He ate it. Fenchurch looked at him in astonishment. What on earth did you do? Well, in the circumstances, I did what any red-blooded Englishman would do. I was compelled, said Arthur, to ignore it. What? Why? Well, it's not the sort of thing you trained for, is it? I searched my soul and discovered that there was nothing anywhere in my upbringing, experience, or even primal instincts to tell me how to react to someone who is quite simply calmly sitting right in front of me, stolen one of my biscuits. Well, you could, Fenchurch thought about it. I must say I'm not sure what I would have done either, so what happened? I stared furiously at the crossword, said Arthur. Couldn't do a single clue. Took a sip of coffee. It was too hot to drink, so there was nothing for it. I braced myself. I took a biscuit, trying very hard not to notice, he added, that the packet was already mysteriously open. But you're fighting back, taking a tough line. After my fashion, yes, I ate the biscuit. I ate it very deliberately and visibly so that he would have no doubt as to what it was I was doing. When I eat a biscuit, said Arthur, it stays eaten. So what did he do? Took another one, honestly, insisted Arthur. This is exactly what happened. He took another biscuit. He ate it, clear as daylight, certain as we are sitting on the ground. Fenchurch stirred uncomfortably. And the problem was, said Arthur, that having not said anything the first time, it was somehow even more difficult to broach the subject the second time around. What do you say? Excuse me? I couldn't help noticing that. Doesn't work now. I ignored it with, if anything, even more vigor than previously. My man. Stared at the crossword again, still couldn't budge a bit of it, so, showing some of the spirit that Henry V did on St. Crispin's Day. What? I went into the breach again. I took, said Arthur, another biscuit, and for an instant our eyes met. Like this? Yes, well, no, not quite like that, but they met. Just for an instant, and we both looked away, but I'm here to tell you, said Arthur, that there was a little electricity in the air. There was a little tension building up over the table at about this time. I can imagine. We went through the whole packet like this. Him, me. The whole packet? Well, it was only 8 biscuits, but it seemed like a lifetime of biscuits we were getting through at this point. Gladiators could hardly have had a tougher time. Gladiators, said Fenchurch, would have had to do it in the sun, more physically grueling. There's that, so when the empty packet was lying dead between us, the man at last got up, having done his worst, and left. I heaved a sigh of relief, of course. As it happened, my train was announced a moment or two later, so I finished my coffee, stood up, picked up the newspaper, and underneath the newspaper, yes, were my biscuits. What? Said Fritch. What? True. No. She gasped and tossed herself back on the grass, laughing. She sat up again. You complete nitwit, she hooted. You almost completely and utterly foolish person. She pushed him backward, rolled over him, kissed him, and rolled off again. He was surprised at how light she was. Now you tell me a story. I thought, she said, putting on a low, husky voice, that you were very keen to get back. No hurry, he said airily. I want you to tell me a story. She looked out over the lake and pondered. All right, she said. It's only a short one and not funny like yours, but anyway. She looked down. Arthur could feel that it was one of those sorts of moments. The air seemed to stand still around them, waiting. Arthur wished that the air would go away and mind its own business. When I was a kid, she said, these sorts of stories always start like this, don't they? When I was a kid, anyway. This is the bit when the girl suddenly says, when I was a kid, and starts to unburden herself. We have got that bit. When I was a kid, I had this picture hanging over the foot of my bed. What do you think of it so far? I like it. I think it's moving well. You're getting the bedroom interested nice and early. We could probably do with some development with the picture. It was one of those pictures that children are supposed to like, she said, but don't. Full of endearing little animals doing endearing things, you know. I know, I was playing with them too. Rabbits and waistcoats. Exactly. These rabbits were in fact on a raft, as were assorted rats and owls. There may even have been a reindeer. On the raft? On the raft, and a boy was sitting on the raft. Among the rabbits and waistcoats and owls and the reindeer. Precisely there, a boy of the cheery, gypsy, ragamuffin variety. Ugh. The picture worried me, I must say. There was an otter swimming in front of the raft, and I used to lie awake at night worrying about this otter having to pull the raft. With all these wretched animals on it who shouldn't even be on a raft, and the otter had such a thin tail to pull it with that I thought it must hurt pulling all the time. Worried me, not badly, but just vaguely all the time. Then one day, and remember, I'd been looking at this picture every night for years, I suddenly noticed that the raft had a sail. Never seen it before. The otter was fine. He was just swimming along. She shrugged. Good story? She said. Ends weakly, said Arthur. Leaves the audience crying. Yes, but what if it? Fine up there, but needs a final sting before the credits. Finchurch laughed and hugged her legs. It was just such a sudden revelation, years of almost unnoticed worry just dropping away, like taking off heavy weights, like black and white becoming color, like a dry stick suddenly being watered. The sudden shift of perspective that says, put away your worries, the world is a good and perfect place, it is in fact very easy. You probably think I'm saying that because I'm going to say that I felt like that this afternoon or something, don't you? Well, said Arthur, his composure suddenly shattered. Well, it's all right, she said. I did. That's exactly what I felt. But you see, I felt that before, even stronger, incredibly strongly. I'm afraid I'm a bit of a one, she said, gazing off into the distance, for sudden, startling revelations. Arthur was at sea, could hardly speak, and felt it wiser, therefore, for the moment not to try. It was very odd, she said, much as one of the pursuing Egyptians might have said that the behavior of the Red Sea when Moses waved his rod at it was a little on the strange side. Very odd, she repeated. For days before, the strangest feeling had been building in me, as if I was going to give birth. No, it wasn't like that, in fact. It was more as if I was being connected into something. Bit by bit, no, not even that. It was as if the whole earth, through me, was going to... Does the number, said Arthur gently, 42 mean anything to you at all? What? No, what are you talking about? Exclaimed Finchurch. Just a thought, remembered Arthur. Arthur, I mean this. This is very real to me. This is serious. I was being perfectly serious, said Arthur. It's just the universe I'm never quite sure about. What do you mean by that? Tell me the rest of it, he said. Don't worry if it sounds odd, believe me. You are talking to someone who has seen a lot of stuff, he added. That is odd, and I don't mean biscuits. She nodded and seemed to believe him. Suddenly she gripped his arm. It was so simple, she said. So wonderfully and extraordinarily simple when it came. What was it? Said Arthur quietly. Arthur, you see, she said. That's what I no longer know, and the loss is unbearable. If I think back to it, it all goes flickery and jumpy, and if I try too hard, I get as far as the teacup, and I just black out. What? Well, like your story, she said. The best bit happened in a cafe. I was sitting there having a cup of tea. This was after days of this build-up, the feeling of becoming connected up, was buzzing gently, and there was some work going on at a building site opposite the cafe, and I was watching it through the window, over the rim of my teacup, which I always find is the nicest way of watching other people working. And suddenly there it was in my mind, this message from somewhere, and it was so simple. It made such sense of everything. I just sat up and thought, oh well, that's all right then. I was so startled I almost dropped my teacup. In fact, I think I did drop it, yes, she added thoughtfully. I'm sure I did. How much sense am I making? I was fine up to the bit about the teacup. She shook her head and shook it again, as if trying to clear it, which is what she was trying to do. Well, that's it, she said. Fine up to the bit about the teacup. That was the point at which it seemed to me quite literally as if the world exploded. What? I know it sounds crazy and everybody says it was hallucinations, but if that was hallucinations, then I have hallucinations in big screen 3D with 16-track Dolby stereo and should probably hire myself out to people who are bored with shark movies. It was as if the ground was literally ripped from under my feet and she patted the grass lightly as if for reassurance and then seemed to change her mind about what she was going to say. And I woke up in hospital. I suppose I've been in and out ever since, and that's why I have an instinctive nervousness, she said, of sudden startling revelations that everything's going to be all right. She looked up at him. Arthur had simply ceased to worry himself about the strange anomalies surrounding his return to his home world, or rather, had consigned them to that part of his mind marked things to think about, urgent. Here is the world, he told himself. Here, for whatever reason, is the world, and here it stays, with me on it. But now it seemed to go swimmy round him as it had that night in the car when Fenchurch's brother had told him the silly story of the CIA agent in the reservoir. French embassy went swimmy. The Sheraton Tower Hotel and the Bank of Abu Dhabi went swimmy. The trees went swimmy, the lake went swimmy, but this was perfectly natural and nothing to be alarmed at because a gray goose had just landed on it. The geese were having a great relaxed time and had no major answers. They wished to know the questions too. Anyway, said Fenchurch suddenly and brightly and with a wide-eyed smile, there's something wrong with part of me and you've got to find out what it is. We'll go home. Arthur shook his head. What's the matter? She said. Arthur had shaken his head not to disagree with her suggestion, which he thought was a truly excellent one of the world's great suggestions, but because he was just for a moment trying to free himself of the recurring impression he had that just when he was least expecting it, the universe would suddenly leap out from behind a door and go boo at him. I'm just trying to get this entirely clear in my mind, said Arthur. You say you felt as if the earth actually exploded. Yes, more than felt. Which is what everybody else says, he said hesitantly. Is hallucinations? Yes, but Arthur, it's ridiculous. People think that if you just say hallucinations, it explains anything you want it to explain, and eventually whatever it is you can't understand will just go away. It's just a word. It doesn't explain anything. It doesn't explain why the dolphins disappeared. No, said Arthur. No, he added thoughtfully. No, he added again, even more thoughtfully. What? He said at last. Doesn't explain the dolphins disappearing. No, said Arthur. I see that. Which dolphins do you mean? What do you mean, which dolphins? I'm talking about when all the dolphins disappeared. She put her hand on his knee, which made him realize that the tingling going up and down his spine was not her gently stroking his back, and must instead be one of those nasty, creepy feelings he so often got when people were trying to explain things to him. Disappeared? Yes. The dolphins? Yes. All the dolphins, said Arthur. Disappeared. Yes. The dolphins, you're saying the dolphins all disappeared, is this? Said Arthur, trying to be absolutely clear on this point. What you were saying? Arthur, where have you been, for heaven's sake? The dolphins all disappeared on the same day She stared him intently in his startled eyes. What? No dolphins, all gone, vanished. She searched his face. Did you really not know that? It was clear from his startled expression that he did not. Where did they go? He asked. No one knows. That's what vanished means. She paused. Well, there is one man who says he knows about it, but everyone says he lives in California, she said, and is mad. I was thinking of going to see him because it seems the only lead I've got on what happened to me. She shrugged and then looked at him long and quietly. She laid her hand on the side of his face. I really would like to know where you've been, she said. I think something terrible happened to you then as well, and that's why we recognized each other. She glanced around the park, which was now being gathered into the clutches of dusk. Well, she said, now you've got someone you can tell. Arthur slowly let out a long year of a sigh. It is, he said, a very long story. Fenchurch leaned across him and drew over her canvas bag. Is it anything to do with this? She said. The thing she took out of her bag was battered and travel-worn, as if it had been hurled into prehistoric rivers, baked under the sun that shines so redly on the deserts of Cacrifoon, half buried in the marbled sands that fringe the heady vapored oceans of Santranginas, frozen on the glaciers of the moon of Jaglan Beta, sat on, kicked around spaceships, scuffed and generally abused. And since its makers had thought that these were exactly the sorts of things that might happen to it, they had thoughtfully encased it in a sturdy plastic cover and written on it, in friendly large letters, the words, "Don't panic." Where did you get this? Said Arthur, startled, taking it from her. Ah, she said, I thought it was yours. In Russell's car that night you dropped it. Have you been to many of these places? Arthur drew The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy from its cover. It was like a small, thin, flexible lap computer. He tapped some buttons till the screen flared with text. A few, he said. Can we go? What? No, said Arthur abruptly, then relented, but relented rarely. Do you want to? He said, hoping for the answer no. It was an act of great generosity on his part not to say, You don't want to, do you? Which expects it. Yes, she said. I want to know what the message was that I lost and where it came from, because I don't think, she added, standing up and looking around the increasing gloom of the park, that it came from here. I'm not even sure, she further added, slipping her arm around Arthur's waist, that I know where here is. Hey, Adrian. Good to see you. Chapter 21. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is, as has been remarked before often and accurately, a pretty startling kind of thing. It is essentially, as the title implies, a guidebook. The problem is, or rather, one of the problems, for there are many, a sizable number of which are continually clogging up the civil, commercial, and criminal courts in all the areas of the galaxy, and especially, where possible, in more corrupt ones, this. The previous sentence makes sense. That is not the problem. This is change. Read it through again and you'll get it. The galaxy is a rapidly changing place. There is, frankly, so much of it, every bit of which is continually on the move, continually changing. A bit of a nightmare, you might think, for a scrupulous and conscientious editor diligently striving to keep this massively detailed and complex electronic tome abreast of all the changing circumstances and conditions that the galaxy throws every minute of every hour of every day. And you would be wrong. Where you would be wrong would be in failing to realize that the editor, like all the editors the guide has ever had, has no real grasp of the meaning of the word scrupulous, conscientious, and diligent, and tends to get this from his nightmares through a straw. Entries tend to get updated or not across the sub-Ethernet according to if they read good. Take, for example, the case of Frequinda on the Fourth of Avalars, famed in myth, legend, and stultifyingly dull, tried miniseries as home of the magnificent and magical Flunorian's Fire Dragon. In ancient days before the advent of the sort of braggabox, when Fragilis sang and Sexaquin of the Quinolux held sway, when the air was sweet and the nights fragrant. But they all somehow managed to be, or so they claimed, though how on earth they could have thought that anyone was even remotely likely to believe such a preposterous claim, what with all the sweet air and fragrant nights and whatnot, is anyone's guess. Virgins, it was not possible to heave a brick on Briquinda in the Foth of Avalars without hitting at least half a dozen Falornis fire dragons. Whether you would want to do that is another matter. Not that fire dragons weren't an essentially peace-loving species, because they were. They adored it to bits, and this wholesale adoring of things to bits was often in itself the problem. One so often hurts the one loves, especially if one is the Falornis fire dragon, with breath like a rocket booster and teeth like a park fence. Another problem was that once they were in the mood, they often went on to hurt quite a lot of the ones that other people loved as well. Add to all that the relatively small number of madmen who actually went around the place heaving bricks, and you end up with a lot of people on Briquinda and the Foth of Avalars getting seriously hurt by dragons. But did they mind? They did not. Were they heard to bemoan their fate? No. The Falornis fire dragons were revered throughout the lands of Briquinda on the Foth of Avalars for their savage beauty, their noble ways, and their habit of biting people who didn't revere them. Why was this? The answer was simple. Sex. There is, for some unfathomed reason, something almost unbearably sexy about having huge fire-breathing magical dragons flying low about the sky on moonlit nights, which were already dangerously on the sweet and fragrant side. Why this should be so, the romance-besotted people of Briquinda on the Foth of Avalars could not have told you, and would not have stopped to discuss the matter once the effects was up and going. For no sooner would a flock of half a dozen silk-winged, leather-bodied Falornis fire dragons heave into sight across the evening horizon that half the people of Briquinda were scurrying off into the woods with the other half, there to spend a busy, breathless night together and emerge with the first rays of dawn, all smiling and happy and still claiming, rather endearingly, to be virgins, but for other flushed and sticky virgins. Pheromones, some researchers said. Something sonics, others claimed. The place was always stiff, with researchers trying to get to the bottom of it, and all taking a very long time about it. Not surprisingly, the guide's graphically enticing description of the general state of affairs on this planet was proved to be astonishingly popular among hitchhikers, who allow themselves to be guided by it, and so it has simply never been taken out, and it is therefore left to latter-day travelers to find out for themselves that today's marred Briquinda in the city-state of Avalars is now little more than concrete, strip joints, and dragon burger bars. Alrighty, so I think on that note, yes, we are going to go to our second music break, which is Miss Mia Savage with her group Antidote for Savages, which you can find on Instagram. I believe you can also find her videos on YouTube. They're quite epic, I must say. She's going to be singing Not a Phase, Bury Me in Heaven, Singing to Your Grave, and The Bottom Line. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this music break.
try, and we can change it anytime we want. It's all we need is a choice. No record, no work, no job, no savings of money. Just a choice right now between fear and love. Choice right now between fear and love.
Welcome back, and thanks so much for hanging out with me tonight on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. So, we did read a bit of Douglas Adams. So long, and thanks for all of the fish. Now we're about to get into a creepy video. I believe this one is by James LaFleur, our buddy over there on That Is Impossible. Yes. It's going to be freaking epic, I must say. James LaFleur does an awesome job with his videos. If you haven't subscribed, please go over and subscribe to That Is Impossible. He's over 1 million now. Good job, James. Might get there in about 50 years. Maybe, if I'm lucky. All right, let's get into it.
Going on a road trip usually feels as if stepping into a world of endless possibilities. The open road ahead, the feeling of freedom and the excitement of adventure, these are some of the things that draw us to these journeys. However, sometimes things don't go as planned, and in very rare cases, completely unexplained and creepy things might happen.
You have a guy on the mountain up there that is watching you with binoculars. I would stay away from him.
I think someone's outside.
Drink some water, dude.
And this is when we're left scratching our heads, questioning absolutely everything we thought we knew about reality.
Come here! That is not a point.
Scattered our head.
No, watch.
Oh, there's someone running?
No.
And today, we're going to be taking a look at the creepiest and most unexplained videos caught on camera during road trips.
I don't think it was a branch.
Are you guys ready? Well, let's go. On March 2024, Reddit user SmartAtmosphere430 was driving past Sulphur Springs in Texas on a very beautiful afternoon when all of a sudden he spotted a very bizarre object in the sky.
Oh dang.
Now, Smart Atmosphere and his wife had been driving for quite a while, and he was on the passenger seat observing the clouds. This is when all of a sudden he spots this object that doesn't look like a drone, a plane, a balloon, nor anything else that he had ever seen. So he did what anyone would do, and he got his camera and immediately began to record. And this is what he saw.
What the they gave that shot to him? You think that's a balloon?
I don't think so.
What appears to be a perfectly round object can be clearly seen hovering above Sulphur Springs in Texas. And whatever this thing is, it left Smart Atmosphere and his wife completely baffled. Now, being that they were on a highway, they couldn't stop the car to record a little bit more. But the footage that he had captured was already enough to become the center of attention just a couple of weeks ago on the Reddit community. While some believe that this is possibly a balloon, even though it doesn't look like one, others think that this might be the real deal. One internet user stabilized the video and zoomed in really well, and we can clearly see that this does not look like a regular balloon. Now, because the video is quite short, it becomes difficult to affirm if this is or isn't the real deal. What I do know, however, is that this isn't the first time an object like this is caught on camera.
Oh, that is weird. I was about to say, what kind of a car console is that? It's a plane.
Something very similar was also seen in Medellin, Colombia, and also in the UK.
Medellin.
Not only that, there were other people leaving comments saying that they had already seen something like this before, and they also believe that this might be the real deal. Strange, isn't it? But it doesn't stop there. Just a couple of months after, on July 2024, an internet profile by the name of Rex McCaskill was driving by Wimberley in Texas, and all of a sudden he spotted something really strange in the sky, something that he wasn't used to seeing during his road trips. So he got his camera and immediately began to record one of the strangest sightings I've ever seen. Check this out.
That's so weird. What is that?
What the?
Wow. You know they make kites like that, but that doesn't look like a kite.
Did you see that?
Get out of my face.
What appears to be some sort of spinning object can be clearly seen hovering above Wimberley in Texas, and whatever this thing is, it's definitely not a drone, nor a plane, nor a chopper. This has to be something else entirely.
Where would any sort of being be in that?
While some believe that it could be just a prism flip kite, and it actually looks as if it could, others think that it resembles the description of an angel according to certain scriptures.
Wow.
Now, being that this thing is flying and spinning at really high speed, I'd say that this is possibly not a prism flip kite. And to make things even stranger, a similar object was responsible for halting a football game during the NFL broadcast in Minnesota in 1979.
What the hell?
I want you to explain that to me, Dr. Spock.
Dad, explain that to me. Someone kick a football up there.
Now, I'm not exactly sure if both objects are the same. What I do know, however, is that flip kites like this one were possibly invented in the 1990s by a man named Mark
You've got to
Reed.
flip it.
So whatever it is that we're looking at, it could be something otherworldly. But if all of this weren't strange enough, it gets even stranger in this next video recorded by Ramirez501 while she was driving by Houston, Texas. It was a cloudy afternoon on May 2023 when all of a sudden she spots this bizarre thing in the sky, something that she couldn't quite explain. And this is what she saw.
¿Dónde está? ¿Dónde está? Se me perdió, se me perdió. Ahí está, ahí está, ahí está.
It's a rip in half. Similar to one of the videos from TikTok that I uploaded last night, but we didn't get that far.
What at first looks like some sort of luminous object can be seen behind the clouds, and at first I thought it could be the moon or maybe the sun. It's when she zooms in that it becomes quite clear that this thing is something else entirely.
It is so weird, it's like a portal.
What appears to be some sort of portal, maybe a doorway or a hologram, can be clearly seen in the sky, and this left Ramirez and her husband completely baffled. To this day, no one has any idea to what this thing is, and to make things even more mysterious, this is the last video that Ramirez posted since last year. Some internet users suggest that this could actually be some sort of hologram, while others have absolutely no idea to what this is. Now, because it was a really cloudy day, it makes it really hard to identify what this thing is. It could be anything really. But because it keeps shifting its form and shape, I'd say that this is definitely not a drone, nor a balloon, nor anything else I've ever seen before. So I'm gonna leave it up to you. What do you think this is?
Weird
Could
noise
it be a
coming from the
portal,
corner.
a hologram, or is it something else entirely?
Could be.
And have you ever seen anything strange and unexplainable while on a road trip?
Yeah. My brother sleeping with his mouth wide open? That was weird.
On January
Pretty sure he was trying to catch flies or
2024,
something.
YouTuber Ciaz was exploring the woods with a couple of friends of his when all of a sudden they came face to face with a very creepy situation.
No, that just
Now,
reminded me.
YouTuber Ciaz is usually exploring abandoned places with...
Okay, so, have you ever seen anything weird on a road trip? Let's interrupt this video for a moment, shall we? Okay, so, we had gone back to Arkansas to bury my Uncle Bill, and so we had to go to Arkansas, and I believe we're going through Texas, and we were right outside of Austin, Texas. And that's where they have all the windmills and stuff, like for electricity. So the windmill catches the wind, it makes it spin, and it produces electricity. And he was like, there's red lights as far as you can see. And I kept, in the distance to the right, I saw, looked like a deck, so kind of like a fire watch deck. But the more I watched it, it was going up and down, and the road was just straight, straight flat road going through Texas. And it was going up and down, up and down, up and down. What the hell is that? And it was one of those UFOs that looks like kind of like a top hat or whatever. So it's got the flat brim, and then it's got the little area with windows all around it. So it was like an observation sort of UFO. I don't know. And I'm just glad my family was with me. It was me and my mom and my sister and my brother, my mom, who is my adopted mom, of course, my adopted siblings, and my brother had never seen a UFO before. So yeah, he was blown away. And as we passed it, it was going like this, and all of a sudden it just zipped. Like, I lost contact of it because I was in the front seat, but he was in the back seat, and he said he saw it zip away. So that was pretty awesome. Pretty awesome UFO sighting outside of Austin, Texas. I would not want to live there. Anywho, let's get back to it. Let's get back to it, shall we?
with his friends in Belgium or in other places in Europe. In most of his videos, things end up very well. They sometimes bump into homeless people or strangers, but that's about it. However, on January 2024, things did not go as expected. It all started a couple of weeks prior when they decided to go vlogging and camping in the woods, something a little bit different from what they were used to doing. In this particular case, things ended up well, and they had a very nice experience while camping and vlogging. So a couple of weeks after, they decided to go back, and this is when things take a very dark turn.
We zijn hier onderweg naar een verlaten camping, man. Een verlaten camping midden in het bos. Zie, beschijnt daar met zijn pillamp. We rijden hier gewoon. Kijk, ja, dat is toch eng? Creepy. Pikken donker. En oh.
Creepy.
En oh. We gaan een plek zoeken om even te parkeren hier langs de baan.
While searching for the most abandoned place in the woods, they start hearing what sounds like a dog barking in the distance.
Dit is wel spannend, ja. Wacht, ik heb hoor. Echt. Oh man. Dit is. Dat is een mechelaar of zo. Nee.
Now, taking into consideration that it's really late at night and that this is the same campsite that they had spent the night a couple of weeks prior, they become a bit freaked out. But they must find a safe spot to camp, so they decide to take a quick look around, and this is what happens.
Ja, hoor die hond, ja. Hier is de ingang.
Hey, look at that
De
barrier.
poort.
I think you guys should pass it.
Privaat,
Yeah,
dit is
you
een
should
plaats
go
van
past
gebed.
that,
Jullie
even though
ons
it says
gerespecteerd
private.
gebed. En daar staat op, pas op, waakhond. Ik ben hier heel lang geleden eens geweest en stond hier vol met bungalows,
There's
met
definitely a
campings,
dog
met
back there.
caravans, mobile homes, midden in het bos, allemaal verspreid, super vet. En ineens is hier een waakhond.
Ja, hier staat dat bordje met
Ja.
dat.
Ja.
Als je nu hier zo inslagen, zonder dat wegje, zet je ook gewoon binnen.
Ja, dat is waar, want dat is niet afgezet. Hè. Als je verder parkeert en je wandelt hier binnen,
Waar staat je
Sugar
gedaan?
Dutch.
die staat daar zo bij een hutje. Maar dat is hier veranderd tot een gebedding, want wat staat hierop? Dit is een gebedplaats.
Dutch or Swedish? What the heck?
Ja, dat is hier gewoon zelf gemaakt. Kijk, dat is een maar dat is hier gewoon een zigeunerkamp of een hippie camping of
I don't know,
zo
you can
geworden.
understand some
Hallo?
of the words.
Ja,
Mogen wij hier
ja,
wandelen?
hoort je het? Die deur, die wint niet. Ik hoor zo. Zeker?
Little by little, Sias and his friends began feeling as if they were not supposed to be there, and this is when they start hearing what sounds like voices coming from the woods.
Ik hoor van alles hier. Dit is zo f***ing. Oh, maat.
Hallo? Mogen wij hier binnenkomen?
Yeah, I wish I was in a coma. Get a little rest.
Dit is zo creepy, maat.
Mad.
At this point, Sias and his friends
So
were too
mad
curious
is
to go
good
back,
English.
and even though it was very clear that someone didn't want them there, they went ahead. Needless to say, it didn't take long before they regretted the decision, and this is what they caught on camera. Check this out.
Is that a banshee?
Dat is toch niet mijn auto of zo, hè? Hier, maat.
She's either having a really good time or she stubbed her toe.
Iemand gemarteld. Hier wordt letterlijk iemand gemarteld in dat bos. Dit is heel lamp aan of niet? Hallo? Hallo?
Uh-oh.
Hallo?
Psycho lady on a unicycle with a hatchet?
Hey!
What the crack? If you can hear the wind through that mic. Could you imagine? No way, baby child. No.
Now completely
I'm not
freaked
that
out,
brave.
Sias and his friends run as fast as they can from an
If
angry
I
woman
did,
that
I'd
appears
make
to be
like at
carrying
least
an
three
axe.
people go ahead of me and
After
at least two
finding
people
what they
behind me.
consider to be a safe
so
spot,
I'm
they
protected
call
on
the
both
police.
sides.
Rode auto met witte letters op de achterop. Ja. Ja, iets verder, maar ik moet ik anders...
Shortly after, the police arrives and arrests the woman,
Someone
and this is the
call
moment where
ICE!
Sias and his friends notice that the woman keeps staring at them with this psychotic smile. They also noticed that she had messed with their car and removed the license plates, most likely with some sort of sinister intention. Luckily for them, everything ended up okay, but this is the sort of situation you see in horror movies, and it doesn't always end up like this. So I want to know your thoughts. What do you think they should have done differently?
I can't believe
And
the
what would
police
you
went
have
all the
done
way out
in their
there.
place?
Yeah, I just can't take her seriously on that unicycle, but it's kind of like
Located in the state of
saw
Texas,
on
right
his little
between the borders
tricycle.
of Mexico and the US, is a
Just
city
one
known
of
as
these
McAllen. Now, McAllen has a population of about 150,000 people, and it's popularly known for its proximity with Rio Grande River. It's also known as a good spot for bird watching and its cultural diversity. But besides all of this, there's also something very sinister about McAllen, and that would be the fact that there are countless stories of phantom hitchhikers that simply vanish into thin air, haunted
What the hell just
churches,
happened there?
and mysterious creatures that lurk at night. And it was on June 2024 that an internet profile by the name of The Unknown RGV decided to go randonauting late at night in McAllen, Texas. Now, if you don't know Randonautica, it's an app that became very popular in 2020 for leading users to random locations based on quantum number generation. And in most cases, people who play around with this app will end up in the creepiest of situations, like coming face to face with the crime scene or a stranger lurking in the darkness.
Why did we just go to this quantum point and this whole person is... Okay, so it doesn't show it. Oh my god, okay. People... Oh my god!
No people. People? No people. What the crack?
No people. Oh my...
In other words, you can imagine how creepy this app can be. And this eventually led people to stop playing with Randonautica until this year,
I tried to
when it
play
became
it, but
somewhat popular again.
everyone
And it was on a hot summer night that the unknown RGV and his buddies came face to face with a very bizarre situation.
No. It's private property. Something might happen.
Why is
I'm
someone
like,
running?
it's not.
Upon arriving at a random location
road?
somewhere in County Road, they spot what looks like a person running in the dark.
No watch.
A fruit fly probably recently.
Oh shit, what the? Oh, there's someone running? No.
At first, it seems as if there's not much going on, but slowly they start to realize that this person that's running in the dark may not actually be a person at all. This is what they caught on camera. Check this out.
Running way too fast.
What is that though? What is that? Why is someone running? No,
How
lower
is
it
someone
down, lower
running?
it. You're dumb as
Why are they running so fast? Like, inhumanly fast.
Dude, nah,
I don't know about you, but when I'm in uncomfortable situations, I do laugh. Or if I hit my head, I laugh too. No thanks.
Oh, they're here,
People are just all there. God, fruit fly, get the frick out of here. You're pissing me off. Can't catch it.
Did you see that? What at first looks
gotta be
like a
like a
normal person
skinwalker
running
or
in the dark
something.
turns out to be something else entirely. If we slow-mo and rewind the video a couple of times, you can clearly see its eyes seem to be glowing in the dark. Not only that, whatever this thing is, it seems to vanish completely into thin air, and it seems to be running too fast to be a regular human being.
Not me, coach.
And the unknown RGV and his buddies also noticed this.
Dude, that's just too fast though. There's right.
It's like,
After being posted, the
you're
video
just
caught a lot of
asking for
attention, and
trouble.
most internet users seem to agree that it's most likely not a regular person running in the dark. So it has to be something else, but
Maybe
what?
it's a
The
really super fast
skinwalker,
crackhead.
the rake, or something else entirely?
No. It looks like a
Strange,
skinwalker.
isn't it? But it gets even stranger the next day when the unknown
It's just-
RGV and
Yeah, well, I guess Century Stink just kicked me out for some reason, and then I tried to call Vern, and then he answered, and then it started ringing. Like, what the heck? Like, everything's going crazy here, but let's represent this. I did actually pause it so that we don't lose our place, but we are a bit off, I must say. The hair keeps touching my back, and it feels like a spoiler. It's a spoiler! Sorry, guys, trying to get this back, clackety clack, 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 clackety back. Alright. Sorry, I'm like a bit overwhelmed at the moment. Okay, there's the video. Pause. I need to present again. Dang it. Not settings. Present. Share screen. Here we go. Alright. Sorry, guys. Thanks, Century Stink.
What is that? That better not be Mexico, bro, honestly. Ready or not? Let's go. It's Mexico now. Wherever it was running. What the fuck? Okay. This is where it was running. That's where it was running. Ain't no way, dog. What?
Ain't no way, dog.
This is where it was running the whole fucking path. Nah, dude, there's no way.
After crossing a small river, they finally reached the same place where this thing was seen, and this is when they realized that this thing was running on loose sand. So I'm not exactly sure what it is that they saw that night. What I do know, however, is that in most videos where we get to see what's supposed to be a skinwalker or a rake, we get to see the same superhuman features such as glowing eyes in the dark, and usually pacing quicker than a human would.
The f*** is that? The f*** is that in the woods?
App? Is that a guy?
Oh, I think that was down in Farmington.
Frick? What the? What was that?
So I'm not exactly sure what's going on here, but I want to know your thoughts. What do you think that the unknown RGV caught on camera that night?
I'll do that now. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to get this to work. Simon, introductory drawings. Were you looking at my bum? You were looking at my bum, you little cheeky monkey. Alright, we got it. Ready? Man, let's get back into this. Holy shnikes.
Night. Was it just a person running in the dark, or was it something else entirely? What's your take?
Something else entirely, that's what I'm saying.
Now from all the places in the world to go on a road trip, I guess that the UK is considered as a safe one, particularly when compared to global safety standards. But even in safe countries like the UK, things can go really wrong, and I guess that this is exactly what happened with a YouTube channel by the name of Brandon Explores.
Hi, Brandon!
Now Brandon's channel is mainly focused on vlog-type videos where you'll see him driving around different cities and camping with his van. And in most of his videos things end up really well, but there's one specific video where things did not go as expected.
Drink some water, dude, come on.
On February 2024, Brandon chose to go stealth camping with his van in a very small town called Jaywick. Now, Jaywick is a very small coastal city, approximately 70 miles away from Cambridge. It was once a holiday destination developed in the 1930s. It was a really beautiful place, but now it has become one of the most deprived areas in England due to a mix of historical, economic, and social factors.
The rubbish.
Rubbish!
Well, this is apparently where I'm supposed to be staying tonight, and I don't really feel safe staying here.
And it was on a beautiful winter day that Brandon arrived in Jaywick, hoping to find a good spot for his stealth camping adventure with his van. And this is what happened.
I've just got a feeling that I'm going to be attracting a lot more attention when there's lights on inside the van, and you can hear me talking and the sound of stuff cooking in the back here, as opposed to when people are still mulling around. It just feels a little bit more safer now, while other people are still walking about and doing their business. I don't think anyone's even going to notice what I'm doing in the back here. I think we'll get dinner on the go, get a nice curry down us, and hopefully by the time it's all cooked and plated up, the sun will start setting and I can start getting ready for bed. But at the moment, everything seems pretty calm in Jaywick.
After cooking a nice dinner, Brandon starts getting a strange feeling as if he's being watched. He gets that intense gut feeling that he should get the heck out of there. This is what he does. So he drives to another spot for his stealth camping adventure, and this is what happens next.
Half hour trying to find a spot. There's apparently a quiet little park up at the end here, maybe. This'll do me. It's absolutely dead quiet. Couldn't really see much, pitch black. But yeah, I'll see you in the morning.
It's a smackety smackety of your schmickety smackety mouth. Like how many bones did you smoke? Like seriously?
Hey!
Hello? It wasn't nice. Knocking out people's windows.
Right, whoever the f that was has now gone. I'm gonna get out of here.
Around 2 a.m. in the morning, Brandon is awakened by someone trying to violently open the door of his car. And when the attempt fails, this person or whatever was outside shatters his window in a new attempt to get into his van.
Hey!
Yeah.
However, when Brandon shows his presence and shouts out loud, he manages to scare whoever or whatever was outside. Needless to say, Brandon was left in complete shock, so he gets the heck out of there as fast as possible. After being posted, the video amassed thousands of views and hundreds of comments, and most people agree that Jaywick is not a good place to visit, mainly at night. After doing some research, I found out that Jaywick isn't just a dangerous place at night. There are places in the woods, for example, that locals will avoid at all costs. From an old building that was used as a prison for witches back in the 1500s to the mysterious disappearance of Danielle Jones, there are several strange and bizarre things that happen in Essex County that makes it a really dangerous and eerie place to visit. So whatever it is that goes down in Jaywick, I'm pretty sure that this is not a good spot for camping at night. And luckily for Brandon, he arrived home safely and only had to deal with a broken window and the scare of his life.
As you can see, I didn't film a huge amount towards the end. I wasn't in a good mind space. After cleaning a little bit of broken glass from my driver's seat and the dashboard, I made the long journey back home. Got there just before sunrise. Not a pleasant drive, to say the
But I want to know your thoughts. Have you ever been stealth camping? What do you think about it? And would you have done something differently in Brandon's situation?
I don't know. Seems like he took all precautions.
When going on a road trip with long hours of driving, it's quite common to have to stop for the night at certain campsites. And when doing so, it's quite common to hear certain noises coming from the forest. For instance, birds chirping, trees snapping, that sort of thing. But sometimes you'll hear the most unexplained and creepy noises, and when it sounds like it's getting closer, this is when you lose your sleep and things can get wild. And this is exactly what happens in this next video posted by Exploring the Unknown YouTube channel.
What's going on, guys? We are back in Michigan. We're gonna be doing some camping in the backwoods. Well, we are currently doing some off-roading.
After setting up camp in a remote area somewhere in Michigan, Exploring the Unknown goes about a really regular routine. Hiking, having dinner, and then going to sleep at about 12:30 in the morning. And up until then, everything seemed just fine. This is until around 4 a.m. when they start hearing what sounds like footsteps and yelping. Now keep in mind that in the very beginning of the video, he makes it quite clear that there are no other campers nearby. And this is what happens.
Something in the woods right behind our campsite walking around.
The yelping is coming from this direction.
Yeah, no. I can't eat that. It's too melted.
I want to eat it.
Look at those ominous clouds and the moon. Something out there.
Yeah.
At this point, Exploring the Unknown and his girlfriend start feeling as if they're being watched. When they go over to their car, they find this massive scratch on the side, and this is when things take a really strange turn. Check this out.
Damn it, Harry.
Is this you?
Yeah, I totally keyed your car.
No, I promise.
I don't think it was a branch.
I kind of think it was because it lines up with the branch.
What the? What the? Hello?
Hello?
That had to be another camper.
What's that, voices?
It's 4 in the morning. Who's gonna be up?
I know.
Like, what am I
That's
hearing?
what I'm saying. It's weird.
Did you hear that? What sounds like some sort of vocalization can be clearly heard in the background, and whatever this thing is, it's possibly something big, be it a human being or something else entirely. Not only that, the woods went full silent, and this is not a good sign. So Exploring the Unknown and his girlfriend decide to get out of there as fast as possible, and this is what happens next.
Just freeze. Don't do nothing.
You hear that?
Yeah.
No, that.
What is that? What is that?
I don't know. I'm gonna go a little bit faster if you can.
After hearing strange sounds and footsteps nearby, they begin to freak out, so they go over to their car to back things up as fast as possible, and this is when they hear what sounds like a vehicle approaching.
Weird.
Just
what is that?
Well, needless to say, at this point, they were completely creeped out and a bit disoriented. They had absolutely no idea what was going on. One thing they were sure though, there was something out there and it was possibly watching them. After being posted, the video amassed thousands of views and hundreds of comments, and it seems that most internet users agree that there's a moment in the video where we can see what looks like eye shine in the darkness. Not only that, some suggest that whatever it was doing these vocalizations, it could have been Bigfoot or Sasquatch or something like that.
It's just
but I'm not too sure. What I do know, however, is that it was really smart of them to get out of there as fast as possible. But when it comes to strange noises in the woods, it doesn't stop there. On July 8th, 2012, a YouTube channel by the name of Big Toe Time was near Clipper Mills, California, when all of a sudden his truck broke down near a lake. So he was forced to spend the night on the side of the road. And up until then, everything was just fine. This is until around 10 p.m. when all of a sudden they start hearing these bizarre screams coming from the woods, and this is what he caught on camera.
That's no dog. They're talking. They're just communicating. What the is that?
Your mom.
He's hearing a little.
Terry. Blow your nose, dude.
Getting scared, Mama?
A little nervous. Yeah.
Those dogs are just like, they know the directions. If you watch them, they know where every single one
Bears don't do that.
That is vocalizing is.
Whatever it is that Big Toe Time and his wife are hearing out in the woods,
don't play with that.
It definitely does not sound like bears. It sounds like something else entirely. Not only that, both of these dogs seem completely terrified by it.
Peanut, what is that?
What is it, Peanut?
He's hearing a little.
At certain moments, it seems as if we can hear more than just one type of howling in the woods. After being posted to YouTube, there were several internet users stating that this is possibly one of the best videos out there of what's supposed to be a Bigfoot vocalization, but I'm not too sure. But when it comes to the creepiest and most bizarre encounters during road trips, there's more.
You know, if you need a shower or something.
Do you need anything?
No.
Okay.
A YouTube channel by the name of Alyssa Vanilla has been doing videos focused on road trips, and she's been traveling all alone with her van for quite a while now. And it was while traveling to the desert somewhere in Arizona on October 2022 that she found herself in one of the creepiest and most bizarre situations ever.
I am currently camping in the desert outside of Tucson on some BLM land.
Alyssa was just about to do her laundry inside her car, so she left the camera rolling for B-roll footage. This is when all of a sudden, a man arrives on an RTV and starts asking too many questions.
Hi.
Doing okay?
Yes, I am.
I'm just kind of checking, making sure everybody's got enough water and...
Oh, okay. Are you a ranger or?
No, I just live close.
Oh, okay.
At first, the man seems very polite, but then he starts making too many questions. Questions that may actually show some sort of sinister intention. Check this out.
Is this what you do for a living? Do you like travel around or what?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah?
Yep.
So how long have you been doing this for?
I've been in the van for like almost a year.
So you've been a nomad for a while.
Yeah.
So if you do stay, I'll see you again, but that's all I'm doing.
Right.
Not spooky.
Okay. Well, and what is your name?
Johnny. If you need water, I have a hose outside that runs all the time. They're welcome to actually come in and use the shower a couple times a week. I'm not home. You're welcome to, buy.
Now, this is the moment where Alyssa starts kind of freaking out. She's pretty sure that the man has other types of intentions. But at the same time, it could just be that he's being polite in his own way. Needless to say, this is the point where Alyssa starts thinking about getting out of there as fast as possible. But because she had to wait for her clothes to dry up, she stayed there for the next 30 minutes. However, she had set up a camera on the other direction, kind of hidden from him, just in case he came back. And this is exactly what happened. Check this out.
Dude's a creeper, man.
Hey.
Hi.
So, you have a guy on the mountain up there that is watching you with binoculars.
Okay, well, that's unnerving. Well, I guess I won't be staying.
Well, it's not that you can't stay. Just, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
The other side of the mountain is safer.
The men start somehow trying to convince her to get out of there and go to the other side of the mountain, where I bet is where he lives. Now very creeped out, Alyssa tries to deal with the situation in a very calm manner, but the man continues there trying to convince her to go over to the other side of the mountain, and this is what happens next.
Even an older Dodge pickup. And he told me he comes out here and offers water. To people. But I would stay away from him. Honestly, I'd move to the other side.
There's somebody watching me, then obviously I don't think I should stay out here at all.
Well, that's fine. That's your choice too.
Yeah.
At this point, you can hear the fear in Alyssa's voice, but she breaks eye contact with him for a couple of minutes while she folds her laundry to get out of there as fast as possible. And this is when the man starts showing somewhat of a disturbing body language. Now keep in mind that he doesn't know that he's being recorded.
Well, at least I got to put my laundry away. It's always easier to do housekeeping out in the open rather than in the city somewhere. So just finishing up my laundry and then I'll probably have to leave, but that's okay.
Sorry. This guy is creeping me out.
Do you need anything?
No.
Okay.
Did you see that? Whatever's going on here, it seems that most internet users agree that his body language is somewhat disturbing and may show signs of some sort of sinister intention. Luckily for Alyssa, she was able to get out of there safe and sound, but there were several internet users pointing out disturbing facts about this video. Sis Iggy77 says, I'm sure you realize this, but when that creep was asking you about how long you've been living in the van and such, he was getting info on whether or not you would be a target that won't be missed or immediately noticed as missing. Another internet user says, the way he was caressing his steering wheel tells you everything you need to know. Glad you're safe.
I know.
So whatever's going on here, I guess this is a really good lesson for the people that want to go on road trips or van camping. But I want to know your take. Would you have handled this situation differently? And what do you think about the bizarre sounds in the woods? Could it actually be Bigfoot or something else entirely? Well, this is it for now, but we do have more videos. Don't forget to check them out. And don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel with notifications on for more videos like this. And if you want to see your videos or stories featured on the channel, send me an email, thatimpossiblechannel@gmail.com, and I'll see you guys again.
Bye, Mr. LaFleur. So that was James LaFleur with That's Impossible. And that guy, I must say, does quite an amazing, aka immaculate job with his videos. I just go back over here real quick. I almost forgot what I was doing. Alright guys, it is that time of the evening. Thank you so much once again for hanging out with me on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. It was awesome reading to you and then sharing that quite creepy road trip video that was sketchy to say the least, especially that guy in Arizona. What the hell? Thank you all, our friends on Mirror Paradox Media's Facebook, KPNL Radio, Twitter, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, YouTube, wherever you may be listening beyond the Omniverse tonight. I had a wonderful time, and I can't wait to do it again next weekend. And I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do it next weekend because I was pulled in last minute to do security this coming week. So I'm going to try to do perhaps some pre-records or something to have something out there for your hearing ears. So please bear with me, and hopefully we'll get that all settled and figured out. Don't forget, you guys, we're all in this together. Together we can make the world a bit better, and together, my friends, we are Paradox Media, because without you, there is no us. Until next time, night-night, live and light. Take care of my ears. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and please don't work too hard this week. And, take it easy. Don't take life so seriously. And, hey, just be happy. Not all of us get to have this experience called life. So, hang in there. Till next time, night-night, live and light, and I will see you back here pretty soon. Same crazy time, same crazy place. Night now.